Okay, it is time for our webinar on informed delivery. My name is Cindy Prado, and I am co-hosting this webinar along with our presenter, Carrie Bornitz from the U.S. Postal Service. Today, they're going to be telling us about informed delivery, what it is, what it means to you, and how it can help you with your business and how you can actually incorporate that in your current postal mailings and software, or uh, whether or not you, I think there's a separate where you can actually go online and do that way. So before we get started, I would like to say if anybody has any questions, you're welcome to type them in the chat window. And as, as soon as we get through with the webinar, we'll go ahead and answer those questions. We'll speak what the question is so everybody can hear it, and then give you the answer to those questions. So before we proceed, let me tell you a little about Anchor Software. Anchor Software was founded in 1998. We have thousands of products installed in over 65 software solutions. We provide software solutions for data quality, postal compliance, mail processing, and document composition. We're active members or engage in shaping our industry through participation in MTAC, ID Alliance, AMI, Postcom, and numerous other PCCs. This year, we're exhibiting at the National Postal Forum this May through the 6th to the 8th in Indianapolis, Indiana. If you're going to the convention or the Postal Forum, please stop by our booth and test drive our new Anchor Connect so that we can tell you all about it. It's our proprietary enterprise platform that allows your organization to seamlessly access our products and services, whether on-premise, off-premise, or a combination of both. So now that I've told you about Anchor Software, let me tell you about our presenter, Carrie Bornitz. So this year, Carrie is celebrating her 34th year with the U.S. Postal Service. She is currently Senior Production Developer Specialist, that's a mouthful, sorry, and Program Manager for Informed Delivery. She started her career in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. She's worked in several programs, including the program now known as USPS tracking. She helped build the program Click and Ship platform. She has a master's degree in organizational leadership, innovation from Marymount University. She has a bachelor's degree in business administration. So now that I've told you about our wonderful presenter, Carrie Bornitz, Carrie, can you tell us a little bit about informed delivery and how it works?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Cindy. Appreciate that. Thank you for your time, everyone. Cindy, I'm assuming you're going to give me the ball back if there, I can flip screen still on my own. So here today to talk with you about informed delivery. And it's kind of important that you first understand what informed delivery is to both consumers and businesses, right? So hopefully some of you have already signed up as a consumer for informed delivery so that every day you get when you got mail coming to your household, you receive an email that tells you what's coming in the mailbox. And that feature, the Postal Service launched in April of 2017, actually, so almost 2 years ago now. And the concept is providing that user ability to digitally preview their mail and manage packages that are arriving soon to their household. The image here on the screen, if you kind of look at the grayscale image down below that says save the date, that reflects what that grayscale mail piece would look like if you're an informed delivery subscriber and you see those images every day. So regardless of what you do as a business customer, if you're in the mail, our informed delivery subscribers are seeing grayscale images of your letter size mail. Letter size, postcard size mail. We don't take images of flat size pieces today, but they're seeing those grayscale pieces anyhow. So what Informed Delivery Interactive Campaigns does for Informed Delivery for Business is it allows you or your mail service providers, again, either the brand or the mail service provider can do it. You can integrate this colorful and interactive campaign elements to enhance and extend the mail moment. So that's kind of what that example is showing you, an example where a business mailer has said, no, don't show the customer my grayscale image. Show them this backside of my postcard instead. So we'll talk a little bit more about how you can facilitate that. And again, the Postal Service does not charge any additional fees for postage for that. But certainly you might see that in the industry, the mail service providers that provide this support to help generate these interactive campaigns may have some kind of fee-based structure for them. So again, Informed Delivery has been out there for a couple of years for consumers. We have 16.2 million registered users, and which is almost 11% now of our potential eligible households that are eligible for Informed Delivery. And one of the key points is that when customers sign up for Informed Delivery, they either choose the email option or they don't. If they don't, we all have a dashboard that we can access via mobile app or like if I'm on my computer today. And so those email-enabled folks are the ones that are really generating all of the activity for the most part for these interactive campaigns that we'll be talking about and generating interest there. So we sign up on average about 160,000 people a week for Informed Delivery, new consumers that are interested in having this feature. And we have some pretty lofty goals of number of subscribers, 20 million, which I think we'll easily hit by the end of this year. And then 40 million is our stretch goal after that. So the couple of things to point out on this image. Now you can see again that I kind of have that same fail example that I showed you on the last image, but in this case, it's a grayscale image. And this is still, again, the customer's name and address. And we took the grayscale image, and the brand chose to have what's called a ride-along image, and which is a requirement to do one of these interactive campaigns. So we've had over 9,000 campaigns completed, over 1,700 brands represented. And to kind of tie this all in, we have a very good email open rate. So out of those 10, almost 11 million email-enabled users, 64% of them open those emails every day. And a high percentage of them open those emails first thing in the morning. So obviously you're thinking, oh, the Postal Service is going digital, and we feel that that's something that we have to do to keep up with the times, right? But we know that nothing replaces the tactile value of hard copy mail. So folks that are participating in Informed Delivery campaigns are seeing additional reach from either their intended recipient or other recipients in the household that see the email digest. Even if people don't take action on the interactive campaign necessarily at the time they see it, there's still clients reporting back to us that they're seeing a lift even when the person goes home then to get the mail, right? So there's a lot of value in having both this physical mail piece along with this digital experience, and the Postal Service is very excited to offer that to mailers and brands. So it's important to understand a little bit how it works on the back end, and this will become more clear as we go through the slide deck here. This just kind of spells it out at the overall level for the consumer, right? So the consumer signs up. We image mail letter size, postcard size mail during processing, and for efficiency purposes to put mail in walk sequence for our carriers. When we take those pictures, instead of discarding them, what we're doing now is matching them to the informed delivery user address. And then, of course, we email them, hopefully in the morning, usually before 8, 9 in the morning. And then they get their mail piece through regular delivery. Usually, again, it's the same day, but, some cases, letters or a flat or whatever might be delivered the following day. There's certainly instances where that happens. The key part is, though, is that those interactive campaigns that we talked about on that first slide, that first informed delivery slide, is that we apply the campaign at that middle step as well. And the way we do that and the way we match images to delivery points is all based on the intelligent mail barcode that's on the physical mail piece. And that barcode contains a mailer ID. And that mailer ID literally facilitates, again, the entire process. So we see a piece of mail come through the system. We look at the delivery point zip code on it and say, oh, that piece of mail is going to Carrie Bornitz at this address in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And then we look at the mailer ID within that intelligent mail barcode, and we say, is there a campaign running against that mailer ID? If the answer is yes, we look at the campaign type, and we literally go down to the individual IMB serial number, which is also in this in the IMB, and that is what allows us to apply those campaigns, those interactive campaigns. So I can't iterate enough why the MID and the IMB serial number are so critical to this process. I know that as users of Anchor software, you all have a tool that they provided you to help submit your e-documentation into Postal One. And as part of that process, you are still having your mail generated, or you're printing mail for someone else as a mail service provider. And ultimately, we need that mid-on piece to be accurate when you do an entry of a campaign and those serial numbers. And I believe the tool provides some of this information back to you, or you enter it, and Cindy will cover some of that at the end of the deck. So there's two levels of campaigns that you can do, either at the MID, the mailer ID level, or again, serialized. And we'll cover that a little bit more as we go through the steps for submission. So basically, I should note, I guess, if you have questions while we're going through the deck, if you can, maybe take a note of the slide or something so we can get back to that, but we will certainly take some questions as well. So the campaign submission, right? You've heard me talk about mail service providers and mail owners / brands. So ultimately, as mail owners or the brands, they're the ones that are inducting the mail. That they're making the decision to mail, right? Ultimately, now their mailings may be supported by someone that does printing, someone that does addressing, or the barcoding, the sorting, the distribution, those types of things. And then you have advertising agencies that might be helping with creative and mail piece design. So as with any mailing, it's generally a village. That's what I tell people regularly. And it's really the same village that's been raising your mailings all along. In this case, there's just that additional digital component that you have the opportunity to utilize. So for participation for industries, you'll see a lot of folks refer to informed delivery and interactive campaigns based on like direct mail and marketing mail. But I always like to point out that it's really not a niche feature. And we have folks that are doing voter registration, gearing up for elections. They're in a service statement. They're putting information in there about your bills in the mail or whatever it happens to be. So I would not limit yourself to thinking that it's only for a particular industry. It's not limited to marketing mail. First class mail can also have interactive campaigns on it, as well as periodicals. We have some magazines that have been mailing with us for a couple of years now and have been doing these interactive campaigns. So just keep that in mind as you look at the broader scope of who can participate. And then the why, right? So in a lot of cases, my discussions with mailers and brands has turned from, why would they do a campaign instead of to we're talking now really how to do one. But you may still be in a position where you're looking at trying to figure out if you should do an interactive campaign or not. And so these are some of the value statements or benefits to doing an informed delivery interactive campaign. Those additional impressions go to, again, your intended recipient and all household subscribers. So for folks that are doing, retail or e-com, that generating that multiple impression from a single mail piece, you could get six people looking at that individual mail piece and you only mail it to one person in the household. So it really expands the mail moment. And even if that person doesn't get that piece of mail addressed to them physically and they don't ever touch it, they could still take advantage of an offer that you make via this interactive campaign. We already talked about the 64% email open rate, which is more than twice that of any industry average for email campaigns that, we've seen. Again, I get that information online. Um, Obviously, you can drive consumer response with the interactive content right then and there. You have the ability to reach consumers digitally by merely knowing their physical address. So sometimes it might be difficult for you to reach out to consumers via email because you don't have an email address, but by you mailing to them physically, the Postal Service takes the lift of providing those digital images to them. We're hoping, and that this ultimately increases the ROI for the mailer, right? That's the all part of it is more impressions equal more conversions equal more spend and or donations or signups, whatever it happens to be. And then the last one really is that we do have additional data insights for informed delivery campaigns in the form of post-campaign reports, and we'll cover those a little bit too, but it's additional data on your mailings that you've not really had an opportunity to get before. So I'm going to just pause there and take a sip of my water here. And I'll go into the steps for campaign creation. So basically, regardless of my audience, in some cases I'm talking directly to a brand. In some cases, I'm talking to mail service providers that induct the mail. In this case, I'm talking to a group of folks that are using a software vendor in order to facilitate your e-documentation submissions into Postal One, right? So basically, though, my process of how you create a campaign largely remains the same. You'll look at some of these and say, well, you could do number, 5 before you do number 4. You could develop your supplemental content first and not do anything else. But this is kind of the way we propose how you get a structured process in relation to at least doing your first campaign and getting that under your belt. So these are the campaign elements, and regardless of your submission method, which we're going to talk about next, but these campaign elements are required for any campaign. So you would have a brand display name, which is going to show in that from field in the interactive campaign. We'll see some bigger images of that in a bit so you can really see where that comes from. But this would be the brand, ABC Company, XYZ Company, whatever it happens to be. Then you need a campaign title, which you're going to create yourself. Normally, I've found that In the mailing industry, we usually name our mailings. Um, so just for tracking purposes, it's pretty common practice, and you do need a title in your campaign elements. Those two top items, you can reuse them. You could call it your campaign title. Maybe it's a loyalty program, or maybe it's a user acquisition program. You could reuse those titles, and obviously you'll be using your brand display names over and over, but the campaign code needs to be unique. So you need to make sure that that is a unique campaign code. And then you're going to have your start and end dates. You're going to figure out what your, remember we talked about that mailer ID, what's the mid-on piece, gather up your IMB serial number. We ask you for the shape of the piece. And then your supplemental content is basically your ride-along image and your target URL. And then if you are doing flat size mail, you must include a representative image. And again, we'll show you more about what that is. And that's optional also for letters or postcards. So the first thing I always tell mailers to do is to determine their submission method. And there's two submission methods that both of them require your use of a business account in the Business Customer Gateway, the Postal Service Business Customer Gateway. The mailer campaign portal, we'll talk to that briefly. The majority of campaigns are entered in the mailer campaign portal today. It is a manual entry method. So you take those 8, 10 campaign elements that we just discussed in 2 slides ago, and you would literally type them into the mailer campaign portal. You would click on a button that's going to allow you to upload your image that it resides on your computer into the mailer campaign portal. Usually folks that are doing a lower volume of campaigns or less complex campaigns, we see them using the mailer campaign portal more. But more and more folks are getting into using Postal One for campaign submissions. And the reason for that is, again, because of you might have more volume, not mail piece volume, right? You could do a 5 million piece mailing and still enter your campaign in the portal. But the overall volume of campaigns, you might be running 20 different campaign treatments on a mailing that you're doing, and that's going to be much easily facilitated in Postal One. You see my little note on the top that says programming is required for this submission method. So that's exactly what Anchor Software has done, is they've done the programming in their system that you interface with, that you can gather and submit your interactive campaigns electronically via Postal One. So again, nice to have that lift done for you already, and I know that the Anchor team's again going to talk to some of the slides at the end about how some of those that user interface works for you. So now basically you've decided how you're going to submit a campaign, right? Again, we tell people to look at that first because generally speaking, someone's going to have a longer lead time in order to do any Postal One programming. That isn't obviously the case here because you've have that facilitated for you by the Anchor team. So really next what you need to decide to do is your campaign breakdown, or what we call the breakdown or the level, right? So the idea is, are you going to take your mailing that you're doing and you're just going to mail based on the mailer ID, you're going to say, I'm going to apply the same campaign to all customers that I'm mailing to, and I own that mid, or no one else is using that mid at the same time on another mailing. That's when you can do mid-level campaigns. You see again by my note down here that 97% of all campaigns are actually conducted at the IMB serialized level. Very uncommon for folks to do mid-level campaigns, again, largely because those mids are usually shared, whether they're your mail service provider's mid or they're a mid that's owned within your company. You may still have other folks that are using that for other business reasons, a business unit sending out service statements versus loyalty or acquisition mailing. So we're going to focus a lot on this IMB serialized. And what this does is it allows you, when you're using shared mids or you need to apply different campaigns to groups of customers. So this example that I show here is kind of the fact that I have a one mailing, it's 15,000 pieces that I'm mailing, but I don't want all these customers to get the same campaign treatment. I actually want the first group of customers to get the red treatment and the next one the blue and the green. This could be men versus women. It could be, customers you want to give 10% off versus 15 versus 20. Doesn't matter. It's just shown to represent that. So you really need to decide that up front. And the reason why you need to do that is because you're ultimately going to need to segregate your mailing list up front. And so this is where you have your just another visual of the two breakdowns or levels of campaigns, that if you have with the same mid, they're going to get the exact same campaign during the time that your campaign is running. And otherwise, we look at the mid and serial number range, and then you can give different treatments to different customers. So this would be an example where the same mailer ID is used because it belongs to a mail service provider, and the IMB is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but yet these customers are going to see a different interactive campaign treatment than these customers in the blue, and then the customers in the green. So ultimately, in order to facilitate that, you're going to need to determine the mid that's used on piece. Remember, that's critical in relation to us activating the campaign. And then you need to look at what those start and ending IMB serial number ranges are. And so in this case, if you look at that same scenario that I showed you earlier with the red, blue, and the green, ultimately I'm going to end up with 3 IMB start and end serial number ranges. This is going to become 3 interactive campaigns. And that is how you, with different campaign treatments, and that is how you would create them in the software that Anchor's providing. So again, those IMB serial number ranges must be unique and sequential for each campaign. They can't overlap another campaign. So folks talk about this a little bit, and I know in relation to pre-sort and those types of things, there are some concerns there. We have many folks that are doing this and making those breakdowns, and you can do your list segregation first, get those IMB serial numbers assigned or printed, and then do your final sortation to get your deepest postage discounts. So little extra step. Eventually, we're trying to do the programming for in piece level campaigns where you literally then would eliminate that sortation up front. So that's still a future enhancement. So keep in mind that even if the brand has their own mailer ID, most often the mid-on piece belongs to the mail service provider. So that's very common for that to happen, and they do that because a lot of mail service providers are doing IMB tracking or tracing for their customers, getting information out of Informed Visibility, which is the database that houses all of our event scans for letter size and flat size mail. So it all kind of ties into all that. So then let's talk a little bit about the supplemental content, right? So these are these assets or campaign elements that you want to add. This is your opportunity to wow people, right? To use your, if you want to use your representative image, which is again is optional for campaigns on letters or postcards. But if you have a really nice postcard that's been generated and you want to use this is an example of the back side of that postcard. It just needs to be, directly related to the mail piece, because we don't want our consumers to be confused thinking that they're getting some type of banner ad or spam or something. It needs to be related to the mail piece. So let's go back up to the top of this slide, the creative for the ride-along image. So this is mandatory if you want to do an interactive campaign. Even if you leave the grayscale mail piece that goes through the system, you can add this little banner ad basically at the bottom under the piece of mail. And you're going to see here, you can kind of see the from name here, but and then you have the this learn more link, which is static on the page. So you're going to develop that creative, and keep in mind again that if you just do the ride along image, well, it's what we call a basic campaign, right? So the customer is going to see their grayscale image of the mail piece that you sent to them. They'll have the ride along image. You provide a URL. Hopefully, it's unique to the interactive campaign versus the same URL that's printed on your mail piece. That's for tracking purposes on your end. But otherwise, you have this little ride along image, or you do a dual campaign and you say you want to use the representative image plus the ride along image. What I always recommend is that you do A/B testing to see which one works best for your mailings, your industries, your clients, whatever you're dealing with. So we have, if you look at all campaigns. So remember, I told you there was over 9,000 campaigns. If I look at the average click-through rate for all campaigns, regardless of industry, regardless of their offer, regardless of what their call to action, the basic campaigns outperform the dual campaigns. And most people at that point go, we would not expect that. But again, our consumers like to see grayscale images of their mail. That's why they signed up for informed delivery. So we are doing some deeper dives into looking at more of these numbers by industry verticals and by the offers and all of those things. But the bottom line is A/B testing is kind of marketing 101. So we highly suggest that you would test both versions to see what works better for you. So then you're going to do your campaign timeline, right? You're working with a printer, someone ultimately that is printing and inducting your mail. And they'll say, oh, okay, we're getting your mail printed. Your sale starts on the 25th. You want to aim for an in-home date on the 25th of the month. We would suggest that you start your campaign. Your start date is a few days before your first expected in-home date, and that you leave it running a few days past your last expected in-home date. This all relates to the class of mail and where it's being inducted and where it's being delivered. So if I have something that's first class mail that's staying in the state of South Dakota, I would expect that I would see most of those deliveries within 3 business days. Maybe allow a little bit on the back end for some of the stragglers. If I'm doing a piece of standard or marketing mail and it's going everywhere in the United States and I'm inducting it in South Dakota, it could take 9 days or 10 days to get ultimately to an Alaska or a Florida or those types of places. So again, we just suggest that you give yourself a little bit of leeway. The maximum amount of time that we want campaigns to run is 45 days. That's part largely tied to the fact that IMB serial number ranges need to be unique for 45 days. So you've done all those steps, right? We looked at our submission method. We looked at how do we want to break down our campaign? Are we doing one to multiple people, or we're doing multiple campaigns to different people? We said we need to figure out what that mid-on piece is and what that serial number range is. Then we're going to make sure we have our supplemental content. And basically, then you have the ability to enter or submit the campaign, whether, again, you're doing it on Postal One or the portal. The mailer campaign portal has a hard stop at noon Eastern the day before the campaign start date. For Postal One, it's not restricted to noon the day before, but your file needs to be received and processed and accepted into our system before midnight the day before the start date, or else it will fail that submission process. So that's pretty important piece. Usually you're going to have some of these elements gathered in advance, and my suggestion is you just have them all ready to go when you get to submit your campaign. Then the other critical part to understand and realize is regardless of the submission method, the submitter is the one that has access to the post-campaign reports. So if you're a brand and you have that information and you want to share it with your mail service provider or vice versa, that is ultimately up to the submitter at this point in time. The reports are generated within the mailer campaign portal regardless of your submission method. Okay, so you submit a campaign via Postal One, it will show up for you in the mailer campaign portal. That's where you would go to generate your reports after the campaign is done running, or you can generate reports even while the campaign is active. But it's important to know that you still need to go to the portal to get those reports. We're working on getting informed delivery post-campaign data into informed visibility, which is where mailers get a lot of other reports, but again, we're not quite there yet. So the last thing we're doing is monitoring our results, right? So it doesn't matter what we do in relation to a preparation or mailing or anything else. We need to really look at our results in order to make business decisions for additional um, media spend, basically, ultimately what it comes down to. So we're hoping that with the information we provide, that it gives enough information that you can help to make business decisions on where you'll spend advertising dollars or what money you'll spend on print going forward. In this case, what you're going to see in the summary report is basically the campaign display name, which is the brand name that you put in. There's your title and your code. And then we're going to tell you how many mail pieces out of your mailing were sent to informed delivery households. So it's not your total mailing. So in this case, with when we have around a 10% saturation, I might expect that the customer mailed 100,000 pieces of mail, and about 10,000 of them went to informed delivery households. And then we tell you how many went to email-enabled subscribers and what those how many emails were opened. We give you your campaign-specific email open rate. And then we also tell you how many click-throughs we detected from your campaign, and we do the click-through rate calculation for you. The specific calculations for all of these are in our interactive campaign guide, and we have a mailer website that I have towards the end of the deck. One of the things that we highly suggest is that folks calculate actually in email click-to-open rate, because this is the click-throughs divided by the number of pieces. When you look at your email open rate, your email click-to-open rate is the numbers are substantially higher, obviously. The detailed reports basically include a line item for every event that created your summary report. So in this report, you would actually, again, we have your brand display name, your code, your title. It includes your campaign start and end date, and your other campaign elements like your serial number, but we also provide you back the mid serial combination that's on your piece. And in this case, you can see that there was one mid serial, but I actually had emails, 3 different email IDs, which means that 3 different recipients in that household got in the email of your one mail piece. And you can actually see when the email was sent. If there's click-throughs, you're going to see when it was, the time it was opened. You'll see your your campaign position in the email, which normally is going to be position 1 because campaigns float to the top. But if there's 2 campaigns in any given day, then you would see those would just be randomly placed, but also at the top of the email digest or dashboard. So really what it allows you to see is household level activity. It doesn't still allow you to say, oh, I know that Carrie Bornitz is an informed delivery subscriber, but you can know that there's activity at that household with informed delivery subscribers without, us providing their personally identifiable information. So I wanted to talk about the 2019 promotions a bit. I know a lot of folks are anxiously awaiting the promotion, and it's going to be a fairly simple lift for folks to do an informed delivery interactive campaign during the promotion period to get the discount. So I'm not an expert on the promotions period. We have a team of folks that manage the promotions overall, but these are some of the information that they've provided to us. That again, it's going to allow a 2% discount on eligible postage. The discount is actually calculated right in Postal One and applied to the postage statement at the time of mailing. It's qualifying product categories, right? So we talk about eligible mail down below. Needs to be automation compatible, has to have an intelligent mail barcode on it, but it can be first class marketing or nonprofit marketing. And the discount applies to all pieces in the mailing, not just those presented to informed delivery subscribers. So you're mailing to 100,000 people, you hit 10,000 informed delivery subscribers, you still get the discount on the full 100,000 as long as you had a campaign that was running against that whole mailing. There are some requirements, again, that within the e-docs that you submit for Postal One, that to claim the discount, you have to use this 2-letter characteristic of PI, and it has to be placed in the component characteristics record. We'll let Cindy talk to that. I'm not sure if they have that, built in the system today or not. I know we've had promotions before other than informed delivery where you'd need that 2-letter character to participate. So very important to point out, your mailing information must be submitted electronically via mail.dat or mailxml or the Postal Wizard. So the software, again, that Anchor's providing would ultimately submit your mailing information. Okay, the campaign submission again can be done in 2 different ways. If you're using Postal Wizard, you have to create your campaign through the Mailer Campaign portal. If you're using, if you're submitting it within the mail.dat or mailxml files for Postal One, you can do that as well. So it's kind of important to point that out, what your options are, to what you need to use versus what you can use based on how you're submitting your mailing information, which you're submitting today, right? That's all being submitted already today for the mailings that you're submitting. So you just decide, do I want to submit my campaign also through the software that's been provided, or do you want to submit it through the portal? Really, business decision for each individual. All right, so I'm going to pass back to Cindy to let her talk to some of these user interface images here.
Thank you, Carrie, and thank you for all that great information. It was very, very informative. I learned a lot looking at your decks. For those of you who choose to do the informed delivery campaigns, what I'm going to show you is some of the screens in our Presort OS software, Max Presort OS, that you'll need to do in order to fill in the appropriate information to submit it through Postal One. So the most important thing is it's going to be submitted through your mail.dats. So if you will notice here on the screen, there are 4 sections. The mail.dat is the 3rd section. And on the first panel that you'll need to submit is the header MPA section. The part that's most important for you to fill out for the informed delivery campaign is, as Carrie noted, the CCR file. You'll note right here there's a component characteristics slot. There's a drop down for different incentive programs that are going on. If you do the drop down, you'll see informed delivery as one of the selections. That's the first thing that you need to do when you're going to be submitting your mail.dat information. The next thing that you're going to be doing is the individual files. In the 1/3 panel under files, you'll need to choose, if you'll note right here, there's an RMS selection, RMB selection, and an RMR selection. You need a combination of either RMS and RMB or RMS and RMR. And those are based on the type of campaign that you're going to be running or the choice that you decide that you want to do, either the referenceable barcode record file or the referenceable mail record file. Once you make your choices, then the next thing that you're going to do is go to the informed delivery. So the informed delivery basically has the meat of what is required on, as the slides that Carrie showed us, that was asking for the campaign, the code. If you'll notice here at the top, if you're doing the RMR, these are the selections that you'll need to fill out. There's drop downs for each one of these. If you're going the RMB route, then you'll do these selections, and you have to fill out each one of these depending on which route you're going to be going. RMR, fill this top portion out. RMB, which is required for either the RMR or the RMS, you fill out this middle portion, giving the RMB value, the index, the template code, the content type. And then if you're going the RMS route, then you fill out this selection. That you'll notice there's a campaign title, the campaign code, the campaign serial grouping. Those are all components that Carrie talked to us about previously, and your start and your end date as well. So once you fill out all those different selections, and if you need any help filling any of this information out, feel free to call our support line and we'll help you through it. But once you fill out all this information, all the required components that Postal One needs for your campaign will be submitted within your mail.dat files. Any resources that you might need concerning the informed delivery, Carrie has so graciously put up here on screen. There is www.USPS informed delivery campaigns. You can review all your resources, any information. I believe that there's a link in there towards the guide on any questions and how to guide you through the informed delivery and how to participate in it. Download any user and data household, view testimonial videos of other people that actually have done the campaign. And it looks like it was launched in 2018 in August. So now, Carrie, can you push one more slide, please, for me? Now that we've gone through the deck and Carrie has given us a bunch of information, it looks like we have some information on or actually questions that have been posted throughout the deck that Carrie's given us. So the first question that looks like that has been posted is, Carrie, this one is for you. Are letter size and flat size mail pieces included in the informed delivery notifications?
So for letter size pieces, you're going to, well, the basic answer is yes, but for letter size and postcard size pieces, we take images of the address side of those pieces and present them as grayscale. We do not image flats. However, flats are still scanned, right? During mail processing, they still have intelligent mail barcodes on them. We still can pick up that information, even if it is carrier out bundles, as long as they are prepared and have that nesting information that's submitted through Postal One. We can support those. So both are supported. In the case of flats, you have to have a representative image. And if you don't have a representative image and we see a scan for flats, the user will generally get that little notice at the bottom of their digest or dashboard that says there's a mail piece for which we have no image. That's what would show up in those cases.
Oh, thank you. Next question, another great question is there a fee for informed delivery campaigns, or will there be one in the future if I don't join immediately?
Yeah, good question. So the Postal Service does not charge additional fees to do an informed delivery interactive campaign. So what I've showed you here today, there is no additional postage charge for that, for doing an interactive campaign. Our business case for informed delivery was enhancing and growing the value of mail, right? So now we have stated and will continue to state that we do look at the opportunities to monetize additional features, such as preferred campaign placement, right? So today I said that, we have, if there's 2 campaigns in an email digest, they're random. I would certainly see the opportunity for the Postal Service to offer for a fee top placement if there's more than one campaign in the digest. Again, your mail service providers and folks that you would work with to gather campaign elements. There's some mail service providers that will create a whole campaign and submit it for you, but some of those folks would be looking at charges for their work that they're doing to help create campaigns.
Okay, now thanks, Carrie. It looks like we have one more question that I can see that people have posted. Where can I find how many users and households are currently signed up for the informed delivery?
Great question. Thank you. I'm just going to slide back to this slide right here. So this is a snippet of our informed delivery for business mailers website. So anything you want to know about, like your campaign images, right? You need to have certain size images. They need to be a certain file size. They can't be. They have to be a certain pixel size. So this is a great go-to location for anybody trying to find out more details. And we do have a user and household data file on our mailer website as well. It's updated every week. And that will actually provide you the ability to see the number of subscribers down to the 5-digit zip code level. It's called that user and household data file on the mailer website.
Well, thank you. I appreciate all of your information, and it looks like there are no other questions that have come through. So I'd like to thank everybody for your time today, and especially Carrie for doing a wonderful job of presenting this informed delivery and giving us very informative information. I want to let everybody know that those of you who have registered and signed up for the webinar, we will send them a link to the YouTube video so that they can review this if they need to afterwards, as well as any questions that were asked during the webinar and the answers for your reference. And thank you for everybody for joining today, and have a great day.
Thank you.